very good afternoon to everyone joining us on Zoom and watching online. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, partners, friends, and advocates for gender equality, a warm welcome to the UN Women 2022 Asia Pacific WEPs Awards Regional Ceremony. My name is Pachari Raksawong, and I'm very excited and very honored to be here for the third year as your host for today's prestigious award ceremony. Now, this WEPs Awards is the only regional awards initiative that recognizes private sector action for gender equality in the Asia Pacific, aligned to the women's empowerment principles. And after celebrating national ceremonies in 7 countries and receiving more than 500 applications from 19 Asia Pacific countries, today is the final culminating event to reveal the region's top business champions for gender equality. We will be recognizing exemplary action being taken across 6 categories aligned to the women's empowerment principles, as well as recognizing 3 outstanding enterprises in our SME Champions Award. Now, the WEPs Awards is UN Women's signature event celebrating the implementation of the WEPs, and they were initiated thanks to the WeEmpowerAsia program, which was a 3-year UN Women program funded by and was in partnership with the European Union. The 2022 WEPs Awards have the generous and continued support of the Australian Government Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade. And now, as you enjoy the ceremony today, we'd like to remind you of a few housekeeping and etiquette guidelines to keep in mind. First of all, as this is a Zoom webinar format, your microphones, your cameras will be disabled. To enable closed captioning, please click on the button at the bottom of your screen. We encourage you to participate by using the Q&A box function should you have any questions or comments. And please note that this WEPs Awards is being recorded and live streamed. Please do share as well. And finally, we would like to remind you to please be respectful to all the esteemed speakers and the participants. We are fully dedicated to providing an inclusive, harassment-free, and of course, an enjoyable experience for everyone joining. All right, and before we get started, we would like to know who's in the room with us. You'll see 2 brief questions pop up in the Zoom poll, so please respond to those questions. Let us know where you're joining us from and what sector you operate in. So giving you all to feed in. Let us know where you are from. Let's check. We've got participants joining us from here in Thailand. We've got, wow, lots of participants joining us from here in Southeast Asia, in Europe as well. Hello to everybody. We are coming to you live from here in Bangkok. Thank you so very much for your input there. Fantastic. Now, everybody, we do have an exciting 2 hours ahead of us. We've got a mix of keynote speeches, panels, and of course, the very highlight of the day is the announcement of our 2022 regional winners. And to get us started, we do have the official welcome to the ceremony. I'm now pleased to share a special message from Sarah Nibbs, who is the Regional Director ad interim of the UN Women Regional Office for Asia and the Pacific. Over to you, Sarah.
Excellencies, representatives from governments, businesses and the development community, a very warm welcome to all of you for this WEPs Awards Regional Ceremony. After national ceremonies in 7 countries recognizing more than 110 awardees, we finally arrived at the 2022 Regional Ceremony, which marks the culmination of the 3rd edition of the Asia Pacific WEPs Awards. Today makes me think back to our first WEPs Awards regional ceremony in December 2020. The world was still reeling from the onset of COVID-19. In the wake of global disruptions to business and supply chains, we witnessed many companies deprioritizing their efforts on gender equality. Yet we saw others reaffirming their commitments and stepping up their efforts. And we have been proud to recognize such initiatives over the past 2 years of the awards. Now we come to nearly the end of 2022, and many economies around the region are beginning to move into a new phase of recovery and adapt to a new normal. However, data shows that progress on gender equality and women's economic empowerment is not recovering, but in many ways it has been stalled or even reversed. Globally, women lost an estimated $800 billion in income in 2020 due to the pandemic. And despite a rebound, their participation in labour markets is projected to be lower in 2022 than it was before the pandemic. Progress for women in formal employment is also at risk. A recent UN Women study found that while women in ASEAN countries account for 41% of managers, this is an increase of over only 2 percentage points over the course of 20 years. Perhaps the biggest barrier to women's full and equal economic participation, which has been thrust into the spotlight during COVID, is women's disproportionate burden of unpaid care and domestic work. Women in countries around our region already do between 4 to 11 times more unpaid care work per day than men. The data shows this has only been exacerbated by the pandemic. Globally, the ILO estimates that more than 2 million working mothers left the labour force in 2020 due to increased childcare responsibilities. A post-COVID study conducted in the Asia-Pacific region found that 32% of women left the labour market, compared to only 9% of men, and this was because of increased care and domestic responsibilities. We must take action now and change course to a pathway of inclusive growth, which requires a galvanised effort from all stakeholders. Among them, the private sector can play a pivotal role to spur innovation and bring solutions that reach women at all levels of society and in diverse country contexts. In our own work engaging the private sector, UN Women is guided by the Women's Empowerment Principles, or WEPs. This is the only global holistic framework for businesses to promote gender equality across their value chain, from the workplace to the marketplace, and into the communities where they operate. From 2019 to August this year, UN Women has leveraged the WEPs in the WeEmpowerAsia programme. The programme was funded by and in partnership with the European Union, which sought to increase the number of women participating in and leading businesses in the Asia-Pacific region. Over the past 3 years, we've seen more than 1,000 companies in the region mark their commitment by becoming signatories to the WEPs. As we celebrate the 2022 WEPs Awards, I want to recognise that none of this could have been achieved without the support of the European Union. And it is with their continued support and appetite for innovation that we have achieved tremendous results and laid the foundation for catalytic action moving forward. On this occasion, I also want to take the opportunity to thank the Government of Australia's Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade for their ongoing support to the WEPs Awards and especially this 2022 edition. It's truly only when all actors work together that we can create the system-wide change that we need. I'm very pleased that today we will be showcasing the initiatives of more than 20 businesses that are demonstrating innovation, building multi-stakeholder partnerships, and making long-term investments to foster gender equality. Today's awards ceremony is testimony of the action that's being taken by businesses in Asia Pacific. For all who are recognised tonight, and to all those who applied for the awards, I thank you very much. Your efforts are not only inspiring for others, but also send a strong signal. Businesses of all sizes and sectors are responsible for and have a pivotal role to play in transforming workplaces, marketplaces, and communities to become more equitable and gender inclusive. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much to you as well, Sarah, for your informative speech. We do appreciate it. Now, with the ceremony officially open, it's time to get energized. We do have an opening performance for all of you to witness. So please join me in welcoming the amazing Bangkok drum crew. what an artistic and powerful start to our awards ceremony. Thank you once again to the drum crew. Now, since 2020, the WEPs Awards has been possible because of the support of the European Union through the recently completed WeEmpowerAsia program. And to deliver special remarks as we embark on the third annual ceremony, I'd like to welcome a very distinguished guest, His Excellency Mr. David Daly, Ambassador of the European Union to Thailand. Your Excellency, please.
Madam Sarah Nibbs, Regional Director ad interim of the UN Women Office for Asia and the Pacific. Madam Sarah Goulding, Assistant Secretary, Gender Equality Branch of the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade of Australia. Business leaders, distinguished guests, friends. First of all, I would like to thank UN Women for organising this year's Asia Pacific Women's Empowerment Principles Awards Ceremony. I'm very pleased to join you again in celebrating these awards. Last year, 22 companies and leaders were awarded for their outstanding efforts to support women's empowerment, and I look forward to learning more about those who will be recognised today. While the world is starting to recover from the pandemic and shift to a new normal, action for women's economic empowerment is needed now more than ever, as hard-won gains for gender equality are at risk of being reversed. This risk is exacerbated by the global economic impact of Russia's illegal war in Ukraine. The latest report on progress towards the Sustainable Development Goals estimates that, at the current rate, it will take up to 286 years to close gaps in legal protection and remove discriminatory laws. Or it will take up to 140 years for women to be represented equally in positions of power and leadership in the workplace. We should all cooperate to take action and develop policies that support gender equality and women's full and equal economic participation. In this endeavour, the private sector has a key role to play. All companies, from the very large to the very small, can and must do their part to achieve gender equality. The European Union is proud to have partnered with UN Women on the WeEmpowerAsia programme to increase the number of women participating and leading in business in 7 countries across the Asia-Pacific region, and to contribute to more inclusive trade chains between Europe and Asia. During the years of the programme, the Women's Empowerment Principle, or WEPs as people call them, the WEPs provided the entry point to engage with SMEs, larger corporations, chambers of commerce, stock exchanges, and policymakers. These principles provide businesses with a framework for action that spans from supporting women to achieve leadership positions in the corporate boardroom, down to supplier factory floors and farms to ensure that women work in an environment free from all forms of harassment. The WEPs Awards play an important role in recognising, incentivising, and showcasing good practices in the region to accelerate women's economic empowerment. As we've just heard from Ms. Sarah Nibbs, more than 1,000 companies in our region have joined the WEPs in just the past 3 years. Through the WeEmpowerAsia programme, we've seen an incredible range of innovation and investments in gender equality from the private sector. For instance, last year's winner of the Gender Responsive Marketplace category, Bio Manila Incorporated from the Philippines, is a fashion brand that is committed to harnessing circular economy practices. Bio champions women as change agents across their value chains by generating local employment for women artisans, procuring raw materials from Filipino farmers, and preserving cultural traditions in apparel designed by women hand weavers. 90% of Bio's vendors are operated and owned by women. Bio's efforts encompass different projects that provide opportunities and livelihoods for Filipino women in hand weaving and farming. There are many other examples which I could give. At home in Europe, we continue to address this challenge. The European Commission, for example, adopted a proposal earlier this year for a new directive on corporate due diligence and accountability. It requires companies to integrate due diligence regarding its impact on the environment and human rights, which includes due consideration to gender equality and non-discrimination. This will apply to EU companies as well as non-EU companies with large footprints in Europe. Many of those suppliers are in Asia. I want to encourage all companies present who are not yet signatories to please sign the WEPs. It is critical that we continue to build on the momentum garnered under the WeEmpowerAsia programme for stakeholders and companies to accelerate their efforts to implement the WEPs, engaging the full ecosystem of economic actors. We urge businesses to engender a culture of gender equality that cascades to all levels of the organisation and extends to its consumers, suppliers and partners alike. That is what many of the awardees today are doing, and it is exactly why initiatives like the WEPs Awards serve as a powerful platform to convene diverse stakeholders and inspire others to action. The European Union is proud to have initiated the WEPs Awards under the WeEmpowerAsia programme. We are very happy that a truly like-minded friend, such as Australia, recognises the value of this programme, recognises the importance of this work, and that it will also provide support. We look forward to hearing more about Australia's plans from Assistant Secretary Sarah Goulding. With this, I want to congratulate all the award-winning leaders, companies and SMEs, and I look forward to learning more about the initiatives being recognised today. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your kind remarks, Ambassador. With the support of the European Union, the WEPs Awards has become an iconic platform in the region. And to tell us more, I now hand the floor to Katia Freyval, the Regional Lead for Women's Economic Empowerment with the UN Women Regional Office for Asia and Pacific. Over to you, Katia.
Thank you so much, Kuhn Battery, and a very, very warm welcome to everyone joining us today. It's so exciting to be here actually for the third year, and it's been truly inspiring to see the momentum building up from the private sector across the region to really step up and take actions for gender equality. Among 500 applications from 338 companies, we have heard widely, 338 companies that we received this year, 40% of them were from SMEs. And out of all companies that applied, 51% were already WEP signatories. And we saw continued commitment from leaders to champion gender equality, and also an increase in categories actually that were weaker before, such as, for example, transparency and accountability. We have seen also much more applications in areas such related to family-friendly policies and practices in companies, certainly a testimonial on impact of COVID-19. And while today, and we have heard it already, everyone is getting exciting, and it's exciting to celebrate the Regional WEPs Awards winners today. This is just one milestone within a larger awards process that spans over 9 months. And it includes multiple UN country offices, partners in the countries that are conducting outreach, rigorously reviewing applications and documentation, completing due diligence, and ultimately the engagement of more than 40 local judges to arrive finally to a regional pool of shortlisted applications. However, this is not the end of the journey. The final step to assess the business actions and select awardees could not happen with our regional distinguished panel of judges. 14 experts on business, gender equality, human rights, development, academia, who have all committed their time and expertise to reviewing and scoring the top shortlisted applications across different categories, across different countries. And I would really like to take the opportunity now to not only thank, but really introduce all of the 14 members of this year's panel. So we have, and a huge thank you goes to Ehsan Malik in Pakistan with the Business Council, Harpreet Kaur from UNDP Asia and the Pacific, Samantha Hang from the Asian Development Bank, Lauren Gula from IFC. We also want to thank Maya Hubita from the Indonesia Business Coalition for Women's Empowerment, Boots Kasia, also from the Philippines Business Coalition for Women's Empowerment, and Machiko Consulting. A huge thank you also to Patricia Matis from the AVPN and Rishwe Arfine from Awareness 360. A huge thank you also to Luis Marquez from Value for Women. Thank you to Stephanie Perrine from the Asia Pacific Foundation of Canada and Sudha Godi from UNESCAP. A huge thank you also to Chering Chodin from UNDP in Asia Pacific. And a huge thank you to Minnie Venkachachalam from WeConnect International and Nia Das from the UN Global Contact here in the region. Thank you so much, dear judges. And we will be hearing from some of you later. But I'm really pleased actually that we have the honor to have two judges with us today here in the room. So one of them has been with us for the third time. A warm welcome to you, Luis Marquez, who is the Director of Advisory Services at Value for Women. And we have a new judge with us for the first time, but a long-standing collaborator for us, Harping Kaur, who is the Business and Human Rights Specialist with UNDP here in Asia Pacific. And to complement our two judges, we have also the voice of a young leader with us, namely the 2021 WEPs Awards Youth Leadership Awardee and a UN Women 30 for 2030 Youth Leader, Net Supatravani, who's the co-founder of an exciting enterprise called ILA and the creator of the Ella app. A warm welcome to all three of you, and it's nice to finally have a WEPs Award to actually be talking in a room with people. Okay, Luis, I'm going to turn to you first. Not gentlemen first, but really because you have been the judge over 3 years with us. And we are obviously really thrilled, and we want to be hearing much more from you about the reflections, what has changed, and what have you seen in this year's applications. But that's not the only reason why we are so pleased to have you with us today. It's also exciting that UN Women is today launching a new report, which has been co-created together with Value for Women, where Luis is a firm member from. And the report is called Trends and Opportunities to Advance Gender Equality in Business in Asia and the Pacific. And actually brings a lot of the experience together from 3 years WEPs Awards, but also from the work with the Women's Empowerment Principles. I think my colleagues will be adding them in the chat so that everyone can be downloading them. We won't have time to talk too much about it today, but I just want to say one thing that stuck really with me, Luis, when I was reading the report, that the data brought together from more than 2,000 companies, WEP signatories in the region. One thing stood out. There was a trend which just, there is more commitment happening on gender equality from the business sector. This is something really positive. Yet the participating businesses also reported that there's a lack of intentional actions to advance gender equality. And I would be curious, and I'm sure our audience as well, to hear a little bit more about the report itself, just very top line, but also put the learnings from the report into your reflections. What have you seen in the applications this year? Are there correlations? What have we learned?
Thank you, Katja, and happy to be a floating head on the panel today. Can you hear me okay?
Perfectly.
Okay. So before getting into the report and answering the question about the WEP awardees, I wanted to just take a quick step back and talk about what our goal is at Value for Women and partners like you, and working with partners like you and many of you in the room. And that is that we want more companies and more solutions that are being driven by those companies to be led by women, and also that the products and services are for women, they benefit women and promote gender equality. And we think that that includes the companies of today, but also the solutions of tomorrow. So all of you that are solving environmental, social, financial inclusion, agriculture problems, and all those technology-enabled solutions out there, to build, we want all of these solutions to build gender into their DNA. And at Value for Women, and for those of you that don't know us, we're a boutique advisory firm working in emerging markets that are helping all of you private sector actors, investors, companies to think about how you can get gender into your DNA of your business operations. And so so for us, it was really interesting, and for myself to be, it's a pleasure to be a judge for a third year and to see not only what the award, what the awardees are doing and all the innovation that's happening on how to promote gender equality in Asia, but also to be able to work with UN Women and with Katya's team to glean insights from this data that Katya mentioned from many companies in the region. And so, okay, so getting into it, I will only, like Katya said, we don't have a lot of time, so I will only highlight some of the key trends and actions that we noted when looking at this data from thousands of companies. And I'll note that the data and the insights we have are from companies just like you, because you're in the room, you're already interested in gender equality, you're already engaged on the issue. So this is not a representative sample, but even within this very engaged, very committed group, we still have some ways to go. So perhaps the main takeaway, sorry, I'm looking at, making sure the slide, next slide, please. Perhaps the main takeaway is that, as Katya was saying, we have a significant amount of commitment. We have a lot more signatories of the Women's Empowerment Principles. There's a lot more interest in gender equality in the region, but we have a ways to go in translating that commitment into action. So what does that mean? When we ask about whether companies are explicitly making gender equality one of their top 5 priorities, or are setting accompanying publicly reported targets, or have specific strategies, intentional strategies to translate those commitments into action, there's less progress, right? So there's still a ways to go there. And while companies noted that most of the focus and progress has been around promoting women in leadership, right? So a lot of this focus, a lot of the energy is behind women in leadership. We still know that less than a third of senior management positions in companies in the region are held by women. So there's a lot of commitment. We need more work to put that into practice. And one of the areas where there's been a lot of work is women in leadership, but we know there's still more to be done there because the results are still pending. And then also around inclusive workplace, we start seeing the companies are telling us that it's no longer a nice to have, right? Support for things such as supporting caregivers, particularly after the pandemic. It's kind of becoming part of the must. Having a gender inclusive workplace is becoming a must, not a nice to have. And while there's been progress on the leadership front, on the workforce front, we think that the biggest untapped opportunities are in supporting women and promoting gender equality in value chains and markets. That means women as clients, women as suppliers. And so what do we mean by this? So for example, while a great majority of the organizations surveyed had initiatives on women, gender inclusivity in the workplace or women leadership, only 7% set procurement targets or goals for the amount or percentage spent on women-led businesses. That's on the procurement side. And only 1 in 5 companies considers gender differences in access to products and services when developing their products and services. So you can imagine that there's a lot of market inefficiencies happening because companies are not intentionally taking into account the needs of women who represent 50% of the market. And so now we can move on to the next slide, please. So what can you do? So whether you're in Indonesia or India, your company can consider a list of actions that Katya will delve into a little more later, and you can see in the report. And we think a lot of these actions were particularly well reflected by WEP awardees this year. So let me pick 3. Again, I don't have time to go into all of them. One might seem simple, but if we're talking about this commitment and your organization has a commitment, well, maybe you could translate that commitment into an intentional strategy. WEP awardees did a good job of having holistic strategies with specific goals and activities. It wasn't just a one-off program for women in one part of the company, but holistic strategies. They also, and another action is, they also started by understanding where they were, tracking gender diversity and sex segregated data for leadership, workforce, and clients within the organization, and starting to understand where they are, and then they develop targets based on that data. So that's something you can do as well. Again, it sounds relatively simple, but we know that tracking gender diversity in such segregated data can be difficult for some companies, and so it's important to start there. And then perhaps another action that we suggest is to move beyond the policies to ensure results. So for example, when talking about gender-based violence, there's a lot of companies that have non-discrimination policies and possibly some policies around sexual harassment in the workplace. But so some of the companies that the WEP awardees and some of the companies that we surveyed are prioritizing holistic programs that address violence against women in the workplace as a resilience and risk mitigation priority, and have protocols in place to make sure that they have an environment free of violence. And that takes more effort, and it goes beyond the policies. And many awardees were able to just demonstrate their intention and commitment through targets, and accompanying those targets through women's professional development programs, leadership programs, and other initiatives that were also informed by the women that they sought to help. So handing it back over to you, Katya, and just saying that I think there's a lot of great WEP awardees that have really been very intentional and thoughtful in their solutions.
Thank you so much, Luis. And I know you could continue on the report, but people, please download and have a read. I think there's more to learn out of that. And it's also great to see and to hear that the applications this year were really diverse and different kind of actions. So I think we are moving in the right directions for businesses walking the talk. So really moving from this commitment into action. And let me turn it to Harpreet. Harpreet, you are a business and human rights specialist. You are with us for the first time as a judge, as we said before. And obviously, these observations are extremely interesting for us to have people that come from a different perspective looking at the applications. So we would be really interested to have your reflections on that. But one thing where we also looked into the report, for example, we surveyed also the companies and asked them on their business and human rights work that they are doing. And 40% of the companies that they are taking action on business and human rights. It would be great, I think, also for the audience to hear a little bit more. How does it go together, women's empowerment or gender equality and business and human rights? And what kind of role can the WEPs play actually to advance the agenda on business and human rights? A lot of questions, I know, but we're really excited to have you. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks, Katya. It's truly an honor and privilege actually to be, sort of really reviewing these exciting applications from all across the region. And, I think what struck me the most with, which I think some of the other judges and previous speakers have also talked about, is the range of applications, not just from the big, large multinational companies, but also from the domestic as well as small and medium enterprises. I think, and having been in the space working both on business and human rights and gender equality for years, particularly in the region, I think to me that's a indication of the shift in the culture. That's in the culture, in the sense that it's not merely a tick box exercise. I think which is what Luis was also sort of mentioning, that it's moving beyond a tick box exercise, and it's becoming a part of the culture, and which basically means just the way that we live in. So I think that's something that really sort of struck me, in terms of looking at the applications. I think the second thing, and I've not gone through all the applications, but a number of applications. I think the second thing that really sort of stands apart is that many of these initiatives are not just driven as a human resource, as an exercise by the human resource team of the organizations, where you're only looking at bringing in more diverse workforces, but not being really truly inclusive. I think many of these initiatives, at least what was evident is they had equality and dignity as sort of the foundational principles of the of the initiative, rather than just being getting a quota fulfilled for compliance. So I think that was really, really heartening to see. And I think third thing, which perhaps has been a trend more recently, also in the WEP Awards and generally otherwise, also is the engagement of the youth, which definitely gives us a lot of hope for a better future for us. So I think that's just in response to your first question. On the second question, in terms of regarding gender equality, sort of in the wider context of business and human rights. Katya, I would like to actually bring learnings, but also in terms of similarities from the 2030 agenda or the Sustainable Development Goals. It has often been argued that we would not be able to achieve all other goals if SDG 5 is not met, or if the progress is not going to be made on the SDG 5. And so we really need to put women and girls at the center of SDGs, and sort of all our initiatives that are aimed at achieving SDGs. Business and human rights discourse is no different. It's exactly the same. We do need to sort of put women and girls at the center if we're really truly to implement the UN guiding principles, which are the global authoritative standards for businesses, standards to prevent, mitigate, as well as remediate business-related adverse human rights impacts. And I think we all know that women are often impacted differently, but also disproportionately by the business activities. And I think that kind of, pretty much brings women at the center if you were to look at the implementation of the UN guiding principles or the business and human rights system. I mean, they're often again found at the lower, often are found at the lower end of the supply chains in the precarious working conditions with very little protection. Take, for example, the garment sector, great at employing women. We're at the bottom. So, you have an industry where 3/4 of your workforce is women, where the industry is targeted at, where the industry is really targeted at women as consumers. But if you look at the number of women leading the apparel companies worldwide, it's really, really dismal. And I think to that, you bring in gender pay gap. Louis talked about gender leadership gap just now, but also looking at discrimination due to maternity and childcare, sexual harassment, workplace. And I think the list goes on in terms of how businesses could impact women differently. I mean, that's in the space of workplace. Now let's come to the community's impact. Even if look at the business impact in terms of environmental pollution, climate change, land acquisition, I mean, all of these initiatives impact women very, very differently. We've even seen, when businesses are advertising their products or services and the marketing campaigns, and how they end up, really perpetuating the stereotypes, the gender stereotypes, and end up often commodifying women. So I think these are again, some of the really very few examples on how businesses could impact women differently. And unless we sort of bring our focus back on women in the business and human rights discourse, I think it's really going to be difficult to achieve the UN guiding principles as well. And I think given businesses' impact on women, achieving gender equality is crucial to the advancement of the business and human rights agenda. Businesses therefore must contribute to achieving substantive gender equality and avoid exacerbating, discriminatory practices against women if we were to truly advance the business and human rights discourse. And I think that's where WEP plays a crucial role. Sarah initially sort of, mentioned about how this is one of the key standards that looks across the supply chains, looks across the value chain. So, and how businesses are treating women, in the offices is not in isolation. Businesses are mere reflection of our society. So, when you see how women are being discriminated, it's also the patriarchal and the structural inequalities that exist or that are sort of transpired from your society to businesses. And I think that's where WEP could play a role, because you're not looking at only you're not looking at promoting gender equality only at the marketplace or at the workplace, but you're also sort of looking at in a holistic way. And I think that's what sets WEPs apart from many other international frameworks and standards. I think, and I will end with this, that I think one of the key elements or one of the key advantages that I see of WEPs is, we all know how little data is available on women. And I think, the gap analysis tool that, WEP has, it really helps understanding, what are the needs, what are the gaps. And unless, we could go on and develop initiatives and, interventions, but if we do not know what is needed, how much is needed, what kind of issues are there, and I think that's something, that helps, that the analysis tool provides, is in terms of, looking at where the need gaps are, and therefore, enable businesses to be able to develop gender transformative measures as well as remedies. So I think that's where WEP perhaps along with the gender guidance on UN guiding principles that again provides a three-part framework with gender responsive assessment, gender transformative measures as well as remedies, I think that's where perhaps WEPs could play a huge role in achieving substantive gender equality.
Thank you so much, Harpreet. That was a lot of content and I think a lot of inspiration probably also for businesses out here. I'm just going to ask very quickly before I turn to you, Nat, colleagues, if there is a way, please could you copy a link on the gender assessment tool that Harpreet just mentioned, and also the guiding principles. Because what we see actually with companies happening is very often strategies on sustainability or sustainable development are holistically looked at. So I think one of the key messages is that we don't achieve business and human rights without putting gender equality of women in the center. So I think there could be a way on really kind of linking this from a business perspective even more together. So thank you very much for that. The second thing, or the second and third thing, is that you have hope in that cultures are changing out there. And the change is coming from smaller companies kind of changing, but also young people. And I'm actually very pleased that we have an embodiment of this with us today, not only a successful entrepreneur, small, medium-sized entrepreneur, but also a young leader who is really standing up for diversity and inclusion. We have the pleasure to have Nat here with us, who is joining us from Bangkok. And Nat is also, as I said in the beginning, a 30 for 2030 youth champion from UN Women. Nat, I would love to hear from you. You haven't looked at applications, you haven't been a judge, but you have experience and you see what's happening. So I would like to know from you, seeing that there is a trend on more businesses, smaller businesses stepping up towards sustainable development, and hopefully, as Harpreet said, maybe towards the direction to creating inclusive business cultures as the new normal. What does your generation, what does young business leaders and SMEs and smaller businesses need to really accelerate that?
Yeah, so I think a really, really positive thing that I'm excited about is like, I'm seeing so many more young people, whether it's like the younger end of millennials or Gen Zs now, kind of stepping into entrepreneurship. And this is because of that kind of innate core ability to want to create, I think, but also want to create change. And, I think the pandemic has really kind of exacerbated this in a positive way, because it's kind of shown people, there's a lot of things in society which still need to change. So Black Lives Matter, anti-Asian racism, the shadow pandemic. So it's these kind of things and this kind of context, which is kind of just the perfect breeding ground, if you will, to make people realize like, I have a part to play and I want to do something. And I think traditionally, when young people feel like they can do something, it's usually through protesting or through those kind of other means, which are not always the most sustainable in the long term. And I think like the more that people think about change, the more they think about the word sustainable, and that really is the future of work. And so for me and kind of the work that we do and kind of, this area of social innovation or social entrepreneurship, I really think that when you combine private sector models or sustainable business models with impact, that's really where you can make systemic change. And so obviously plugging in a little bit kind of the work we do at ILA, which is really always focused on gender equality at the core. And so one thing we have seen time and time again is that, when we speak to young people or when we speak to other co-founders or young business leaders, their first kind of response is to be like, oh, I'm too small or I'm too young to do something to make a change and to kind of implement these policies, which people think are usually only reserved for big corporations. And I really want to kind of overturn this kind of mindset, because I think that like, if anything, the smaller you are, the more impact you're allowed to make, because you can just go. You can just implement change right then and right there. And this is really evident in our company as well. If we want to implement something, like the very next day, it's kind of up and running already. And I love that about startup culture, to be honest, which is very different from bigger institutions, which I won't mention the names of. But the really cool thing about that kind of work and like young people is that you kind of see the vision and the change that you want, and you just go ahead and do it. And I think this is the spirit of what the next generation is going to be. So I really, really love that. And then kind of speaking specifically on what younger businesses need and kind of like what's happening in the region. So I think that there's one really key thing that's sort of missing, which is that there's not so much focus on sort of community and mentorship when it comes to kind of SMEs in particular. Like there's a lot of these kind of networks, for instance, when you're talking about people who work in corporations. And I've seen this, you know, in my past life, pre-entrepreneurship. I've seen this in friends who are working and climbing that corporate ladder. There's a lot of support and infrastructure. But when you're actually on your own doing something, you're kind of, you know, doing it in a vacuum. And so one of the cool things that I would really, really love to see more and see kind of support from corporations and bigger institutions is how can they support the infrastructure for these smaller SMEs? Because even though they're operating in perhaps smaller profit margins, perhaps like smaller scale impact, they are able to kind of create their own community in some shape or form. And one of the things that we try to do ourselves, you know, even as a small startup, is to create these safe spaces. And so, for instance, you know, we always do these female founder markets, which is kind of a space to celebrate female entrepreneurs. And this is the third year we're going to be running it. It's, you know, one of Thailand's first female founders market. And so it's always a great space to have women entrepreneurs be there to celebrate this embodiment of what it means to be a woman entrepreneur, but also to kind of network as well, which I think is the core thing that's missing from SMEs nowadays, because, you know, it's so easy to kind of start something online, whether it's on Instagram shop, online, like this, the rates of like women-owned businesses in Southeast Asia is through the roof, which is fantastic. But, you know, where's kind of the support beyond that? And I think that's a really key part of it. So the mentorship part, as well as the other M, which is money, obviously kind of just plugging that in there. I think the investment piece is huge too. Startups, SMEs, micro businesses, I think this is really key. And the sad statistic, right, is that like less than 3% of all VC funding goes to female founded teams, which is probably even lower now because I'm sure that was like during the pandemic times. And so I think there's a lot of work to be done from both sides. So from the soft skill side and from more of the hard skill part, but hopeful for the future.
Thank you so much, Annette. And I don't think that needs any summary. I think this was very clear. We see there is a shift. And I remember the first panel we had 3 years ago. There was a very different dynamic and vibe. So thank you for bringing really that refreshing voice into the room here. But I'm not going to give the last word to our panel. We want to obviously hear also from our participants, our guests in the room. And so the last question is to you. So what we would like to hear, you have heard a lot about potential actions that can be taken and also have heard examples what people are doing, and we will hear more of this. We have a small poll for you, which I see people are already answering, which is really aligned with the 9 actions that came out of the Trends report, and really looking into what actions are you prioritizing. And I see there's a diverse, you see it probably all on your screens as well already. If not, I just want to tell you, I think moving from commitment to action, really kind of the narrative resonated here, moving into more in marketplace, from workplace into marketplace. Where we don't see a lot of actions yet, I think, is on marketing and reporting. Could we close the poll maybe, or you want to keep it open a little bit? Please, 1 more minute to let people join us. This is also very interesting data actually for us to get a little bit sort of a feeling. Harpreet was mentioning there's a lack of data. This actually helps us to see. Interesting also to see, not to surprise, support for employees or caregiving responsibilities. I think this is something what really is on the agenda high for businesses now. So let's close the poll, and thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, my distinguished panel. It was a pleasure to have this conversation. Thanks, Louise, virtually with us. And I hope you will be enjoying the rest of the WEPs Awards. Now it's going to become really exciting. Over to you, Kun Pachari.
Thank you so much, Katya. And once again, thank you very much to the speakers. They gave us plenty to think about. Very useful information, very insightful details indeed. Now, as earlier mentioned, the 2022 WEPs Awards were made possible with the generous support of the Australian government. And we are thrilled to have another special guest joining us, Ms. Sarah Golding, who is head of the Gender Equality Branch with the Australian Government Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade. Over to you, Sarah.
Hello, everybody. It is an absolute privilege to be with you all today. Thank you for that warm welcome. As is customary, I'd like to begin by formally acknowledge that I'm joining you from the land of the Ngunnawal people here in Australia. I'd like to thank UN Women, the European Union for their leadership, but most importantly, I want to thank all the impressive representatives from businesses in Southeast Asia at this event. I am so delighted to have the opportunity to be with you once again. I can't believe it's been a year since we were congratulating the 2021 WEPs awardees. I know that there have been a number of country-level ceremonies already, which look wonderful on Twitter, and I'm glad that some of my Australian colleagues have been able to join. Thank you so very much for inviting me to join you as we gather virtually for this 2022 regional ceremony. Australia is very pleased to see the Asia Pacific WEPs continue to go from strength to strength, because sadly, as others have noted, the issues that we're tackling in seeking to advance women's economic empowerment are far from being solved. It's great to see this momentum because we have a long way to go and a lot of ground to make up with the setbacks from COVID and now the global economic downturn. But as we've heard from the panellists and others, we absolutely know that women's economic empowerment and workplace gender equality are fundamental to opportunities in our communities and in our economies, to increased business productivity, to social cohesion and realising rights of women and girls in all their diversity. Evidence pre-COVID attests to this. The argument's settled. We need to make sure that everyone truly appreciates the transformative potential of equal economic participation and take steps to realise this in our own organisations and businesses. The Women's Empowerment Principles and the awards that we're celebrating today are a great platform for drawing attention with practical outcomes and championing successes so we can scale these efforts up among our peers. We know that businesses in the Asia Pacific are leading this work. They're taking action, including to address the impacts of the pandemic on workplace and workforces as social innovators and entrepreneurs. The Australian government, through our long-standing partnership with the UN Women and the European Union, is committed to supporting this work. As part of this, we've had a collaboration between UN Women and Australia's Investing in Women program, which has been very fruitful over the recent years. The Investing in Women business coalitions, many of whom are on the line tonight, have been strong supporters of the Women's Empowerment Principles and the awards among their members. Business coalition members themselves, of which there are over 100 now in Indonesia, Philippines, Vietnam and Myanmar, have been justly recognised over the years as recipients of a number of awards. These business coalitions have since 2017 helped businesses translate their interest in moving workplace gender equality into action, that critical point that Katja just said, into action for positive change, including how to recognise and shift gender bias in organisations. The Women's Empowerment Principles are an excellent entry point for companies wanting to make a commitment to gender equality. They're readily accessible and they're used all around the world. And as we will see today, used very successfully by many businesses seeking to improve their performance on gender equality and reap the benefits of doing so. Since the first Asia Pacific WEPs Awards in 2020, as others have noted, we've now seen over 1,700 companies in the region sign up and commit to the principles. In previous years, the awards have seen thousands of applications across dozens of countries, and this year is no exception. I am looking forward to the announcements coming up next of the winners in each category and to hearing about the inspiring work each and every one of them have been doing to take forward this vital agenda. So to all the businesses that receive an award and to every nominee, we say thank you. The impact of your work on gender equality is real, it's visible, and it's seen in your workplaces, your communities, your supply chains, where new jobs, new opportunities are being created. Congratulations, and special congratulations to the winners. That's it from me.
Thank you so much to you, Sarah. We've heard about some of the amazing work being done by companies in the region, and we're nearly ready to add another cohort to the prestigious group of Asia Pacific WEPs awardees. All right, to take us into the awarding portion of the ceremony, let's bring back one more time the Bangkok Drum Crew. And now the time has finally come, the announcement of the awardees. We start first with the category Leadership Commitment. And to present this award, we're thrilled to have a member of our regional judging panel, Mr. Ehsan Malik, the Chief Executive Officer of Pakistan Business Council, which is a research-based business advocacy body representing the leading businesses in Pakistan. But unfortunately, Mr. Malik cannot be with us live today, but we're pleased to have his pre-recorded presentation.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so sorry I cannot be with you today, but I was delighted to be invited to join the judging panel this year. And I'm equally thrilled to be announcing the awardees for the Leadership Commitment category, which is very close to my heart. A committed leader sets the tone, influences the culture, shapes the strategy, and wins followers to promote gender equality. Through gender-inclusive business conduct, progress is expedited and extends throughout the value chain. As champions and representatives of a company's values, it is their vision setting, external advocacy, and partnership building that advances women's empowerment in the workplace, marketplace, and the community. With that, it is time to announce the awardees whose efforts exemplify such action. The second runner-up is Neeraj Parihar, Executive Vice President, Leader for Insights and Data Global Business Line in India, and Diversity and Inclusion Business Champion in India for Capgemini Technology Services India Limited.
Hello, I'm Neeraj Parihar, Executive Vice President and Leader for Insights and Data Business at Capgemini in India. I'm also the business sponsor and champion for diversity and inclusion at Capgemini India. I'm very pleased about winning the UN Women 2022 Women Empowerment Principles Award in the Leadership Commitment category. This award is particularly a proud moment for our organization as we built an entire ecosystem anchored around creating and nurturing a balanced workforce. We will continue to uphold our commitment towards creating equal opportunities and safe workspaces for all so that everyone at Capgemini can get the future they want. Thank you.
The first runner-up is Wajiha Khalid, Business Head of Nishat Mills Apparel Division, Pakistan.
Business should have a positive contribution to the society in terms of promoting human rights and benefiting every stakeholder. Nishat Apparel is focused on gender equality and women empowerment because we firmly believe on investing equally on every gender. The award-winning initiative was all based on our vision to empower women of our community. We did that by setting up camps in nearby villages and provided door-to-door counseling. Then there was another interesting program, Career Ko Karo Restart Nishat Ke Saath, which is providing a comeback platform to all those women who have to take a break in their career due to any personal reason. We also conduct regular Cup Shop session where we invite top leaders to have discussion on how important it is for our females to develop themselves in order to become economically independent. I am immensely thankful to our CEO, Mr. Umar Mancha, for incorporating these values in us, and every delegate of Nishat team also deserve appreciation for this success.
And the winner of the 2022 WEP Awards category for leadership commitment is Emma Siri Martini, Director of Finance and Head of Pertiwi Pertamina of PT Pertamina, Indonesia. Congratulations, and please welcome Emma to deliver her speech.
Thank you so much, Malik. It is truly an honor for me to receiving this award. Thank you so much for UNWEP for this award. This is truly a recognition, not only for myself, but only for my institutions. The company that I'm working for, Pertamina, is state-owned enterprise, national oil and gas company, which is 100% owned by the government. So I think this reward related to the gender equality, it's really through my heart. So this is not a gender issue. Gender equality is not only the gender issue, but it is a business issue. This is a sustainability issue. So by promoting gender equality, meaning sustaining our business growth, our performance in the future. So ESG now become the more trending topics, then women can take significant role on this part. So woman leadership, woman employee, by creating the respective workplace policy, respectful workplace policy, and then all the women's ecosystem, supporting ecosystem, it's becoming more important to sustaining the business. So let's hand in hand together for all the women leaders, for all the female employees. Let's make the better future by promoting gender equality and creating respectful workplace policy for all female and male workplace in the workplace. Thank you so much. Thank you, UN.
Thank you, Ehsan, as well as the awardees for the heartening remarks. And once again, congratulations to the winners of the first category. We now begin the announcement of the awardees for the Gender Inclusive Workplace category. And to present this award, we're honored to have a longtime friend and legacy judge of the WEPs Awards, Ms. Maya Juwita, the Executive Director of the Indonesia Business Coalition for Women Empowerment, which is part of the Australian government's Investing in Women initiative. Maya, over to you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so glad to be here with you again for the third year as the regional judge, and I'm thrilled to be announcing the awardees for the Gender Inclusive Workplace category. Promoting workplace gender equality is something I have been dedicated for the past 6 years. It's where companies often take their first step on their journey to integrate gender inclusive practices, and it encompasses a myriad of efforts to foster a truly inclusive workplace, whether it is an office setting, factory floor, or farm, that allow women to enter, succeed, and thrive. I believe that putting effort to transform your workplace gender equality can't be based on the view of nice to have, but you need to be intentional because it will affect your bottom line. The intentional work being done by many companies in our regions span this range, and I'm delighted to be recognizing the best of this effort today. Now, the exciting part, let's announce the awardees. The second runner-up is Siam Makro Public Company Limited, Thailand.
Siam Makro Public Company Limited is a leading wholesaler within Thailand. Across the last 33 years, we've continued to support products that bring joy, hope, health to our community. We've done this through community partnerships, through supply partnerships, and of course, business partners as a whole. A testament to how we've done this and a critical success factor is really our focus on people as an ongoing agenda. Part of our people journey includes gender diversity and our continued focus on, no matter what gender you are, fair opportunities to grow and thrive within an organization, and specifically within our macro family. This year has been a great year for us in terms of employee engagement. We achieved over 85% in terms of our employee engagement score, And that spanned across 90% participation rate as well, over 20,000 employees that participated. We continue to focus on this. We continue to focus on thriving in the ongoing environment through focusing on people, gender equality within the workplace, and fair treatment. Thank you again for the recognition, and we are proud of our achievement this year and look forward to ongoing transformation and push for our people agenda.
The first runner-up is PT Amarta Mikro Fintech Indonesia.
As a microfinance marketplace, Amarta is committed to serving millions of women-led MSMEs in Indonesia to become successful entrepreneurs. As a company, we also believe that career has no gender. Therefore, Amarta provides series of interventions, well-being programs, and professional mentorship to ensure an equal opportunity for everyone to advance their future and become the best versions of themselves. Further, we also understand that gender-inclusive workplace is not only about women empowerment programs, but also about engaging our male fellows to participate in this movement. At Amarta, male and female team members collectively learn and build gender intelligence and skill that brings our company forward towards shared prosperity and equal opportunity for everyone, regardless of their sex and personal backgrounds. A gender-inclusive workplace starts with the mindset. So let us begin.
And the winner of the 2022 WEPs Award category for Gender Inclusive Workplace is Jazz Pakistan. Congratulations. And representing Jazz Pakistan for their acceptance speech is Sabahat Bukhari, Director of DEI of Jazz. Welcome, Sabahat. Over to you.
Thank you so very much. At Jazz, inclusion is in our heart of everything that we do. Jazz is aimed to improve the lives and livelihood of women in Pakistan through technology. We are striving to create an inclusive and belongingness in the workplace, and everything that we do at workplace is for empowering women through different initiatives and programs, like our industry-leading phase back program after the maternity leave, returnship program for women, and Empower, which is a leadership development program. These are the industry-leading program that we are offering across Pakistan. This year, we have also launched our strategy Power to Be You, which is the industry-leading D&I program for us. We are looking forward to offer much more to Pakistani women to thrive and making Jazz an employer of the choice for women. We are very thankful to our CEO, Mr. Amir Ibrahim, and our people in organization, organization team, which is helping us, D&I team, to make this organization a truly inclusive place for everyone. Thank you so much, WEPs, for taking care of our and recognizing our effort in this space. Thank you so much.
Congratulations to the winners. And of course, thank you to Maya as well for announcing the awardees. And now we begin the announcement of the awardees for the Gender Responsive Marketplace category. And to present this award, we're very happy to have another member of our regional judging panel, Ms. Minnie Venkatachalam, the Regional Director for Southeast Asia and Oceania at We Connect International, which is a global nonprofit network that works with multinational corporations and multilateral organizations to generate market access opportunity for women's business enterprises in over 125 countries through supplier diversity. Let's welcome Minnie.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm happy to be here joining you today, and it is such a great experience to join the regional judging panel and to learn more about the diverse ways the private sector is advancing gender equality through the region. Gender responsive marketplace is just another category that takes a broad perspective on a company's marketplace. It recognizes corporations championing gender equality in their value chains through gender responsive procurement and supplier diversity, building the capacity of women-owned businesses to access capital in new markets, And it also celebrates gender-inclusive marketing and advertisement campaigns that seek to dismantle gender stereotypes. With that, I am proud to announce the awardees. The second runner-up is PepsiCo Pakistan.
In PepsiCo, we are not only focused on making our own organization as diverse as our communities, but we are also helping our partners in doing the same. In this context, we are immensely proud of 3 programs. First, Sheroes, a program in which we supported our third-party distribution partner to run a distribution that is 100% operated by females. Second, setting up of a state-of-the-art daycare facility for our third-party farm workers. And third, a Rural Wonder Women program to support entrepreneurship amongst females in rural areas. We believe that only a truly diverse workforce can lead to a prosperous society.
The first runner-up is Amman, Indonesia.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Lebih dari 90 juta penduduk Indonesia bergantung dari perempuan pengusaha mikro. Mereka berjuang demi hidup yang lebih baik. Peluang ini besar. Bagi Aman, bukan sekedar peluang, tetapi juga panggilan. Mereka membutuhkan akses kepada modal dan juga kapasitas usaha. Aman bekerja sama dengan ekosistem untuk melayani 2 hal tersebut. 1 juta customers Aman 100% perempuan. 60% karyawan Aman juga perempuan. 30% dari senior officers di Aman juga perempuan. Itulah dedikasi kami untuk memberdayakan perempuan. Tagline di Aman, kerja daripada selaras. Terima kasih kepada jutaan customers yang kami layani. Terima kasih kepada partner yang telah bekerja sama dengan baik dengan kami. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
2022 WEPs Awards category for gender responsive marketplace is Unilever Thai Trading Limited. Congratulations, and let's hear pre-recorded remarks from Ms. Buchapon Kanapongsa.
Sawadee ka. First of all, thank you UN Women, Unilever Thailand, and Dove. Feel honored and grateful to be awarded as winner of UN Women 2022 Asia Pacific Awards in the gender responsive category. For Dove, we truly value diversity and inclusivity and try our best to embrace the real beauty and together embark the new definition of the real beauty and the self-confidence to be truly coming out from the inner, not the outer appearance. For Dove Let Her Grow campaign, we have talked a lot with the Thai women, and one of the insights that we found resonate to the self-esteem and self-confidence is about the haircut at high school. It does not only take away the hair goals, but also the confidence and the self-esteem. After launching this campaign, we have received overwhelming positive feedback from the society, sharing different perspectives across gender, ages, and occupations. Dove Let Her Grow is the beginning of our journey. We will not stop there. We will continue driving the long-term impact to the young Thai women by working closely with the faculties, teachers, and key influencers. Thank you.
Congratulations to PepsiCo Pakistan, Aman, and Unilever. And thank you very much to you, Minnie. And now we begin the announcement of the awardees for the category Community Engagement and Partnerships. And to present this award, I would like to welcome another longtime friend and third-time regional judge, Ms. Boots Garcia, the co-chairperson of Philippine Business Coalition for Women Empowerment, also part of the Investing in Women initiative and the president of Majeo Consulting Inc. Let's welcome Boots.
Thank you and good afternoon. It's exciting to be back again. And although it does take quite a time commitment to be part of the judging panel, It's really very enriching to see the caliber of applications submitted and to learn just how much is being done to advance gender-inclusive business practices across different countries and sectors. So this category recognizes corporations that seek to leverage their position in the wider business ecosystem by investing time and resources to promote women's empowerment and gender equality in the communities they operate in and impact, as well as engaging and forming partnerships with public and private stakeholders alike to catalyze efforts and spur deeper impact for communities and within wider industries. So let's now discover the champions bringing these actions to life, and it is my privilege and opportunity first to announce the second runner-up. And the second runner-up is the Interlife Assurance Company Limited, Philippines, where I happen to come from.
Thank you, United Nations, the WEP Awards, for the honor of being recognized in the Asia-Pacific region under the category Community Engagement and Partnerships. Women are the half that holds the world together, and when they are empowered to live their lives accordingly, families, societies, and countries will thrive. We thank the many wonderful organizations and business institutions that joined us in the In Life Heroes advocacy and movement. Together, we're giving better opportunities to more women to reach their dreams and fulfill their purpose.
Thank you, and I'm proud to see a Filipino company as a runner-up. The first runner-up is Unilever Vietnam International Company Limited.
At Unilever, we strive to transform our workplaces throughout the value chain and community at large by harnessing our brand's influence and partnership to pursue the belief that no woman should be left behind. The awards reassess our impactful program, Women Do Business, initiated by Sunlight Brands since 2020, partnering with women unions, Google's Meta to drive women economic empowerment by supporting them to have skills, resources, and opportunity to control and benefit from economic gains, thereby having more stable and happier lives. The result, 100,000 women trained, 125 projects funded, underpin our promising journey ahead to achieve the ambition of empowering 1 million women by 2025. I truly want to say thank you to our partners, especially UN Women, Vietnam Women Union, Meta, Women Academy for your trust and collaboration. Let's stand together to make a fairer and more inclusive society so the businesses can thrive stronger. Thank you.
And finally, the most awaited announcement, the winner of the 2022 WEPs Awards category for community engagement and partnerships is Sekisui House, Japan. Congratulations. And let's hear a pre-recorded message from Ms. Niwa Yamada, Executive Officer, Head of Diversity and Inclusion Promotion Management of Sekisui House.
Sekisuiハウスの山田と申します。この度は栄えある賞をいただき誠にありがとうございます。ジェンダー平等と従業員の幸せのために力を入れてきました男性の育休取得が評価されましたこと、大変嬉しく思います。日頃よりサポートいただいてます皆様にも感謝申し上げます。積水ハウスグループでは我が家を世界一幸せな場所にするというグローバルビジョンを掲げています。そのビジョンの実現のためにはまずは従業員と家族が幸せになってほしい、 その思いから2018年7月に男性の育児休業1ヶ月以上完全取得を宣言いたしました。幸福感の高い従業員は創造性や生産性も高いという研究結果もありますように、この取り組みは本人、家庭だけではなく企業、職場、社会にも良い影響を与える結果となりました。当社ではダイバーシティ&インクルージョンを従業員と企業が持続的に成長するための重点課題として位置づけています。女性の活躍推進を経営戦略として捉えるとともに、多様性と自立性を伸ばし、活かせる職場づくりを目指しています。今後も社会課題の解決に貢献いたしたく、引き続き取り組みを推進してまいります。ありがとうございました。
Thank you for your speech and congratulations to Ms. Yamada there. A big round of applause once again to the 12 awardees so far. Fantastic job. You're a wonderful example to all of us. But wait, there is still much more to come. But before we reveal the final batch of the 2022 awardees, let's hear one last time from the Bangkok Drum Crew. Over to you. Thank you, drummers, for your fantastic energy, building up the excitement here. We're now going to move on to the announcement of the awardees for the transparency and reporting category. And to present this award, we're so thrilled to have another legacy judge of our regional judging panel, Ms. Samantha Hung, Chief of Gender Equity Thematic Group at the Asian Development Bank, where she provides leadership for advancing gender equality across all aspects of ADB operations. Let's welcome Samantha.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm honored to be joining you as a member of the Regional Judging Panel for the third year in a row. I'm equally thrilled to be announcing the awardees for the Transparency and Reporting category, which recognizes corporations that measure, track, and report on gender-related indicators and work towards gender equality and women's economic empowerment. We cannot manage or change what we don't measure. Transparency and equality have a symbiotic relationship, and indeed, WEP Principle 7 undergirds all others. The greater the accountability and transparency, the more quickly organizations understand their gaps and opportunities for progress to better prioritize and develop strategies for gender equality. Without further ado, I'm proud to announce the awardees whose efforts exemplify these actions. The second runner-up is PwC China.
I'm Zhou Xing, PwC China Diversity Leader. Thanks for the award. At PwC, we treat gender diversity as a strategic focus at the management board level. On the path of leading culture change, we know the importance of leadership's commitment and information transparency. We actively assess gender equality across our people's development, such as partner admission and pay equity analysis. We publicly report gender equality data at all management levels in our ESG report. As a leading professional firm, I hope we can extend our reach beyond workplace to make a difference and advance gender equality in the market and the society as well. Thank you again.
The first runner-up is St. Barbara, Australia.
I would like to say, on behalf of St. Barbara, thank you for the recognition for our efforts in gender equality and the commitment to female empowerment. Diversity brings many positive business outcomes, driving creativity and inclusion, while also improving business performance, employee engagement, and overall culture. As the only Australian mining company to hold the citation of WGEA Employer of Choice for gender equality, we focus on providing a safe and inclusive workplace for our people, wherever they work across the world. We are also committed to transparent reporting and clear and honest data. It holds us to account and helps us identify areas for improvement. Some key initiatives include: we submitted to the Bloomberg Gender Equality Index in 2020 and are one of only 10 Australian ASX-listed companies included in the index. We scored 100% for our disclosure score. We have set, monitored, reviewed and reported on our diversity objectives since 2010, including gender composition, representation of women in leadership roles, and gender pay equity. All our employees have access to 18 weeks paid parental leave, regardless of location, gender, service requirements across Australia, Canada, and Papua New Guinea. I am proud to accept this recognition today and look forward to continuing to be an employer of choice committed to inclusion and diversity. Thank you once again for this recognition.
And the winner of the 2022 WEPs Awards category for transparency and reporting is Fujitsu Global Delivery Center Philippines. Congratulations, and please welcome Arlene Gregorio, Country Head of Fujitsu Global Delivery Center Philippines, to deliver her speech.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is an honor to receive this award on behalf of our company, Fujitsu. As a responsible business in the information technology industry, where women are largely underrepresented, one of our missions is to empower women by incorporating diversity, equality, and inclusion in our business. With trust as our core value, it is our obligation to act with ethics, transparency, and integrity. Thus, for transparency and reporting on gender equality, key indicators that we monitor and analyze include the number of women in senior leadership roles, gender pay gap, percentage of women promotions and new hires, participation in technical trainings through our Women in IT program, and women's representation in non-traditional roles, among other things. Our DE&I programs resulted to the continuing sustained growth of our center and higher engagement scores. We have grown 300% in the past 3 years since we have enacted our D&I program. We are at above benchmark levels in our EE scores related to DE&I, with consistent improvement in the last 3 surveys. Finally, I thank the UN Women and its esteemed sponsors for this recognition. This award goes to our teams in Fujitsu for their persevering efforts in advancing our DE&I advocacies. In behalf of Fujitsu, we commit to continue being a strong advocate of gender equality in our society.
Congratulations to the awardees. We're now going to turn to one of the special awards introduced just last year for SME champions. And to present this award, we're thrilled to have a first-time regional judge, Ms. Stephanie Perrin, the Gender Equity and Social Inclusion Specialist with the APEC Canada Growing Business Partnership at the Asia Pacific Foundation of Canada. A warm welcome to you, Stephanie.
Thank you, and good afternoon from Kuala Lumpur. It's been such a pleasure to be part of the WEPs Awards judging panel this year for the first time. And it's a treat to be presenting the awards for the amazing micro, small, and medium enterprises driving change in the region. MSMEs account for more than 96% of all businesses in Asia. They are vital engines of economic growth and deserve due recognition for their ability to create impact for women across value chains and act as gender-inclusive role models for other smaller enterprises. Let's now reveal the awardees. The second runner-up is ThriveWell Malaysia for their efforts in community engagement and partnership.
Hi everyone, I'm Delima and I'm from ThriveWell, a social enterprise working on community mental health care in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Thank you so very much, WeWomen, for this opportunity and recognition. Myself and the team at ThriveWell would really like to dedicate this award to all the women community leaders that we work with through our mental health programs. They're the ones that really make it happen. They're the ones that help us constantly improve our delivery of community mental health services for women and girls. Secondly, thank you so much to all of ThriveWell's partners, funders, friends, allies, and our fellow counterparts in the NGO and social enterprise community in KL. We are so incredibly humbled and inspired and excited to be among such outstanding initiatives today. The project we highlighted for this award was actually a mental health program for women in low-income communities. And we're really happy to report that there have been such positive impacts, particularly for this type of support for women and girls. And so it's also really great to see more people, more companies, more groups talking about including mental health components in their initiatives. So we really hope that there's only an upward trend of this. That's it for me today. Thank you so very much, and congratulations to all the other winners today. Thank you.
And the first runner-up is Oh Now Myanmar for their work in gender-responsive marketplace.
Thank you so much for this award and this opportunity. We started into this work because we felt that not enough was being done with women who own businesses and manage money. We believe these women deserve more than lecture-based video trainings and the badly designed content being offered by most digital programs. Really respecting these women as customers who have their own agency requires that we give them the best service possible. Our services should be individualized to each entrepreneur, and the service should be high-tech and high-touch, and still delivered at scale for thousands of women. Thanks to UN Women for partnering with us in this work. Thanks to the 950 women who participated in the program, the 346 women who engaged with our coaches for hours about their business ideas, and to the 63 businesses that were created. Thanks to the Oh Now team, who continue to push through difficult times to do important work. There is no one like you, and it's the highlight of our careers to work with you all. Thanks.
And the winner of the 2022 WEPs Awards category for SME Champions is PT SRC Indonesia Sembilan for Gender Inclusive Workplace. Congratulations, and please welcome Rima Tanago, Director of the PT SRC Indonesia Sembilan, to deliver.
Hi everyone. I would like to thank UN Women WEPs Awards 2022 for selecting us to be the SMP champion for Gender Inclusive Workplace category. SRCIS is a subsidiary of HM Sampurna, and our company is highly committed in supporting diversity, equality, and inclusion, which we believe that everyone has equal opportunities and deserve to be treated equally. Our commitment is always reflected in our initiatives. Internally, we always strive to go above and beyond, where we conducted the JERS assessment every year since 2020, which include assessment of the women empowerment principles to increase the equality of our initiatives. Externally, we play an active role in empowering traditional grocery stores owners through Sampurna Retail Community Program. Currently, our members are more than 200,000 traditional grocery stores in Indonesia, where 57% of them are women and also the backbone of their families. This initiative is aligned with our commitment to increase women's participation in economic activities. Finally, through these awards, we hope to inspire more parties to continue to make their best efforts to have positive impact for employees, to wider community, and also for the betterment of Indonesia. Thank you.
We now move on to our final award, and this one is for youth leadership, which takes inspiration from UN Women's Global Generation Equality Movement. And to present this award, we're very happy to have a new member of our regional judging panel, Mr. Rijbe Arifin, who is a multi-award-winning community development practitioner and a devoted youth activist. The co-founder of global youth organization Awareness 360, he has been named a Forbes 30 Under 30 and is also a UN Women 30 for 2030 youth leader. Join me in welcoming Mr. Ridgway.
Good afternoon, everyone. I was very honored to be invited as a member of the regional judging panel this year. And as a youth activist and UN Women youth leader, I'm so glad to be joining you today to present this award. That's very close to my heart. This category recognizes businesses, business owners, founders, and any employee under the age of 35 who actively takes a leading role to support gender equality in their business. Whether it's a startup or major corporate, youth leaders bring bold and innovative ideas that have the power to shape business as a key driver for an inclusive and gender equal future. I'll keep it short since I know everyone is eager to hear the awardees, and also because this year we received such exemplary applications that we have 4 awardees. The second runner-up is Gwen Nong Mi, Vice Chairwoman and General Director of Alpha Nam Group.
Hello everyone, my name is Sylvia Nguyen from Alpha Nam Group. We operate in real estate, hospitality, investment, and manufacturing. For many years, Alpha Nam Group has been at the forefront of gender equality in Vietnam. We received EDGE certificate at MOVE level, the first in our industry in Vietnam, and among a dozen companies in ASEAN to achieve this level because we applied international standards for hiring, evaluating, and promoting our staff without gender preferences, while creating a better environment to support female staff to thrive at different levels. I would like to thank various business entrepreneurs, organizations for supporting Alpha Nam on this journey, and all of our board members who understood that by empowering our female staff, we have a happier workplace and a more successful company. Thank you for listening.
And we have another second runner-up, who is Takia Sultana Nova, CEO and founder of Roadbook BD.
Transportation plays an important role. In a nation like Bangladesh, women are having a lot of issues due to the use of local transportation. Unfortunately, though riding is a common activity for male, still it is difficult for women. In this sector, Roadbook BD is continuously working, where a woman can learn to ride a scooter or motorcycle, and where leading on path is more of a priority than gender discrimination.
Building and riding institutions for girls in Chittagong has always been a challenging affair. At first, the responses were not satisfactory, but when the COVID-19 pandemic appeared, women realized the benefit of riding in their own vehicle. More than 600 women have already taken this training, and the number is increasing day by day. Gender inequality was the biggest issue in women's scooter riding, which was the most challenging to normalize. With the support of Yamaha Riding Academy, we are now able to create a community of women bikers.
My heartiest gratitude to my mom and co-founder of Roadbook BD, Rosie Choudhury, our partner, Yamaha Riding Academy, and my mentor, Ekhlasuddin and Tanjia Sultana Nithi, for helping me in this journey. Thank you so much.
And the first runner-up is Sharon M. Vaswani, OD, CEO of the Pan Optimal Mix Enterprise.
As a young woman in the field of healthcare, I have witnessed the imbalance in accessibility to quality eye care and medical services. So when I started my profession, I was driven to take steps to turn her vulnerabilities into opportunities by engaging with various stakeholders on initiatives that emanated from my business strategy to all my external affiliations. Despite the pandemic, I was instrumental in initiating Tech to Transform, a program which empowered women-led MSMEs from 8 different verticals across the country. Further, I continued to help Filipino kids with biliary atresia to have their life-saving surgeries done in India. I am blessed to have family, friends, and business associates who have constantly supported me and wholeheartedly in all my undertakings. I am grateful to the opportunities that have shaped me to be the woman and young leader that I am today. Namaste and mabuhay.
And the winner of the 2022 WEPs Award category for youth leadership is Roshni Ravindranathan, Manager and Lead Organizational Transformation Initiatives of Biocon Limited and Biocon Biologics. Congratulations, and let's hear from Roshni.
Hello, everyone. As a company that was started by a woman, I guess gender equality and women's empowerment are naturally in our DNA. It's who we are. So the commitment stems right from the top and percolates all the way down. Biocon Women Initiatives was established in 2017 to increase diversity at Biocon through unbiased gender-based hiring, as well as to retain, support, and empower our existing women employees. It focuses on enhancing workplace safety and better work-life balance, and supporting the career development, productivity, and performance of women employees to strategically design programs, policies, and practices. I'm truly honored to be recognized by UNWEP Asia Pacific for the Young Leader Award. Diversity, equity, and inclusion are issues that I've always been passionate about throughout my career. While I was involved in D&I programs in all my previous stints, it was at Biocon that I got the opportunity to globally lead and drive them. It has been an exciting 4 years of evangelizing, nurturing, and building a DEI ecosystem at Biocon, and I'm happy to say that our efforts are continuing success. All this would have not been possible without the strong and unstinted support of my progressive leadership, who deeply believe in diversity, equity, and inclusion and encourage me to innovate and implement my ideas. I want to also acknowledge the support of all the DNI ambassadors at Biocon and Biocon Biologics who have facilitated the implementation of our DNI initiatives and making it a must-have function today. And of course, I mustn't forget my colleagues and my team who are always with me every step of the way. Thank you very much.
Wow, huge and sincere congratulations going out to all of the amazing awardees. You truly are all so very inspirational indeed. And of course, thank you so much to all our judges and presenters present with us today as well. All right, everybody, it's now time to take a group photo. So if we could have everybody please turn on your cameras. We're going to take a group photo together. So once again, inviting everybody to please turn on your cameras, please, and give us a big bright smile. And I'm going to hand things over to my colleague who's going to give you all the cue.
Okay, colleagues, everyone, I hope everyone has cameras on. We are almost ready. Oh, it's so wonderful to see so many faces. Okay, we'll start in 3, 2, 1, snap. Do we need another? Okay, 3, 2, 1, snap. Good. One more. Okay, one more. Keep your smiles on. 3, 2, 1, snap. Okay, fantastic, fantastic. Back to you, Patchery.
Thank you so much, everybody, for participating in that group photo. All right, we are now going to officially unveil the 22 incredible awardees of the 2022 Asia Pacific WEPs Awards. It has been such an exciting day here, announcing all the winners. Once again, congratulations to everybody. And I would also like to extend a massive thank you to the whole technical team that has been working tirelessly behind the scenes to make today happen. And before we close, there's one last thing we would like to ask of all of you. If you could kindly please spare 5 minutes to take our brief post-event survey. Please send us your feedback because it really means a lot to us. We really greatly appreciate it. We'll be sending you the link via the chat, and you can also scan the QR code as well. And with that, the UN Women 2022 Asia Pacific WEPs Awards Regional Ceremony comes to a close. Thank you all so very much for joining us. And we wish you all a happy, healthy, and safe end of the year. My name is Pachori Raksa Wong. It has been an absolute honor. It's bye-bye for now.